Good morning and welcome to the very first Speak Loud podcast. As most of you know, published a video about the Growth Grit Grind podcast. Loved doing that podcast. The matter of fact, at the end of the day, was our passion is marketing and advertising. Our passion is business. And that podcast was mostly us speaking to business owners about their journey. How they got started, where the idea came from, the ups and downs of having a business and growing a business, layered in with some marketing and advertising, right? What we wanted to see is more of that element. We feel like it's in our lane to talk about marketing and advertising. We don't always want it to be about our business and us doing trainings and us telling you this is what you should be doing, this is what you shouldn't be doing, but that's an element of it. And so we took some time. We had a lot of guests that were booked over the last several months and just really examining it, as you always have to do in business, of what is the most important, what is the point of this, and what do we ultimately want to achieve from doing this. So what we've ultimately decided to do is to bring the podcast back, shift it underneath who we officially are, Speak Loud Group, and do it that way. We still want to interview business owners. We want to talk to them about still some of their startup and how they got going. We are fascinated by entrepreneurship and starting and scaling businesses, and we think it's beneficial to the people that may be watching this. We really want to also focus on the marketing and advertising side. We are good at what we do, and our clients would attest to that, and our longevity would attest to that. But there are things and campaigns and ideas and strategies that other business owners have employed that are larger scale. They are outside of the box. They are above and beyond maybe what we have done. We do not know everything. We continually learn about our craft and get better at what we do. And that benefits our clients, our future clients, and us as a company. But today, being the first podcast under the Speak Loud, I felt it only fitting to really talk about us a little bit and tell you about how we got started and how we grew. And it's a very different story than our normal like paid ads and SEO and all of these things, because I think it's important that you know our context of who we are, our background, and why we started in the first place. So we're going to rewind. I spent close to 15 years in construction management. So everything from owning a construction company at a very young age and doing very well doing that, to hitting my kind of capacity of, I knew that I was young, I knew that I was making good money, but I also knew that there was more. And that I didn't know everything, and that I had kind of hit I think it's important to know, and this is just kind of a nugget, is that you have to know when you've reached your capacity, whether that be for growth or that be for scalability, knowledge. You have to know when you've kind of hit your wall, and either you go and learn and take that on as essentially a second job in the nights and weekends and your luxurious free time as a business owner, or you pivot. And what I did was pivot. Is I felt like there were larger companies out there that I could go and learn from, whether that was to turn it into a career or then come back and start another company. Found a company that was looking for essentially a sales manager / GM locally in the DFW area, and I jumped on with them. And that's where it kind of started, is I got to see from a large scale. They had 10, 12 sales reps and probably double that in sales support. We had 4 or 5 office folks as well, including the owner. But I learned a lot from that company, that organization, and every time I like to say this, it's good, bad, and ugly. You learn good things, you learn the wrong things, you learn the ugly things, and you get to see all sides of it. But it's all learning. It's all good. And then the rest is honestly a duplication of that. In the business that I was in, same thing would happen. I would see my capacity, getting close to that, whether that be income. And there were certain situations, certain companies I was with, that I felt like my income was limited just based on my structure. A lot of the structures I was in was some type of base salary and then a percentage in, say, overall sales or what the company did. And whether I was capped in the size that the owner wanted to be, or I was capped in just production capability, whatever it may be, I felt like I was capped. There were other situations where I just didn't like where I was. Grass is greener on the other side, right? So you think. And that's what would happen is I would be recruited, and then I would go into a specific organization and realize it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And then I'd put my name back in some hats. Fast forward that, I did a couple of stints in Florida. There's a couple of larger commercial companies that were looking to expand their presence. One specifically that was opening an office that's a very large top 10 contractor in the United States. And again, same principle, same processes. I learned so much from being a part of those. In that time, I have always, since I was probably 7 or 8 years old, I have owned a camera of some sort. Won a photography contest when I was very young and got a nicer camera at the time than, say a point and click that I probably got at a pawn shop for $50. Got a nicer camera. Actually won it, funny enough, with a photo that I took, not with any nice camera at all. I think it was a disposable camera that I took at Disney World on a family trip. And from there going forward, like I remember times as a kid, like I would take like the video camera and we would make we recreate movies, just as kids goofing around, but I was like the director, the one behind the camera. And it's always something that fascinated me. Fast forward into the construction days, I always had my hand in that marketing and advertising element. It's just something that fascinated me and ultimately affected my income. If we were not marketing and advertising correctly, then it capped our sales and it capped our growth, which then capped my income. So I always had my hand in it, whether I was doing it myself or I was working with an outside agency, which was the case at a lot of the larger companies. During that time, same thing, good, bad, and ugly. Saw the good side of agencies and the good side of marketing and advertising. Also saw the struggle side and the bad side of advertising and marketing and agencies. Was a self-taught person when it came to Facebook ads, SEO, Google PPC, anywhere else that you could possibly digitally advertise. I wanted to learn those things and I wanted to know them inside and out, mostly because I was in charge of it. But I also had to trust other people. And if I didn't know what I was talking about, then I just had to take their word for it. And I didn't like that. So I spent time and money, a lot of it, to learn the ins and outs of Facebook ads, Instagram, the platforms, the algorithms, the paid ad side, SEO, technical, on-site, off-site. Like I learned all of these things, content creation as a whole. And I think you're a continual learner or student of that because it's constantly evolving. But when I was with the last company I was with here locally in DFW, it was around the time that COVID happened. I had hit a point of, I guess you call it extreme burnout. I was not happy where I was. Great company, great owner, still talk to him to this day. I just wasn't happy where I was. I think I had just finally reached that kind of breaking point. I would get physically sick when it was like our heavy time of year. And I was young. I'm still young. And just didn't like the way my life was, if that makes sense. Happy at home with my wife. I've got 2 kiddos. But they saw it, the stress, everything. And, I talked to my wife and I had a good friend of mine here that's a realtor. And all of them were like, well, the things you know how to do, like why don't you go out there and do it on your own? Why don't you put it out there that you do marketing and advertising? And I was like, I don't know, I never really saw it as a business, right? Like I just saw it as something I was very passionate about, something I knew how to do very well, but I just never saw it as a business. It didn't help that I was making good money in the construction business. If I was laid off or I wasn't making good money or anything like that, it would have been so much easier to make that transition and be like, well, I have to. And Ashley Bledsoe, which was one of our guests on the Growth Grit Grind podcast, she said, a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners they are birthed out of either inspiration or desperation. And I think in my case, it was a little bit of both. I was desperate to get out of the situation I was in, but I was also inspired to be able to go create something on my own. And so I very much align with that and I think it's a great statement. That being said, is right around COVID, I put it out there. It was actually a little before. Put it out there in the local community of, hey, a couple people I knew that owned businesses. I'm thinking about doing this. I know we've never talked about it before, and I know I'm in construction, but this is something that I actually am really good at, and I would like a shot, with your business, and walk them through the process of what that looked like, whether it was creating video content or graphics and paid ads and how that worked. And I'm happy to say that those 2 particular individuals that were our first couple of clients are still clients to this day. We're almost 5 years down the road. And that is just a huge, in our business, there's a lot of churn. And I'm happy to say that those people are still with us. But we took those couple of businesses and started getting the word out about them locally. And I was just stoked that it was working and that I was like, man, people are actually paying me to do this. And that's where kind of the light bulb went off. I was like, that one of those companies referred another company and then they referred a company. And it was in our community, businesses. We have a lot of, small and medium-sized businesses that are personally owned. And so they talk, or they see things. They had never seen videos going out for this business. Like, hey, who in the world is doing that? When did y'all start doing that? Like, we're not doing it. We hired somebody and this is who it is. And then I just got plugged in, to the community, joined, Chamber of Commerce, got involved. I'm not one to just have my name somewhere. Like, I want to be involved. I want to know people and interact with people. My wife would call me a social butterfly. Some days I am, some days I'm not, but for the most part, I enjoy people and being around them. But it's a passion of mine, getting to know businesses and understanding what they do, whether they become a client or not, it was just genuine. But that being said, we went on a vacation. I was still employed. I was essentially working at this point 2 full-time jobs. I had a few clients under our belt and was working and getting their stuff done. Very transparently, they knew I was still working outside of it. But went on vacation, and we knew on that vacation, like, I just want to take this time to kind of unplug, not have anything else distracting us, and really think about what we want to do. Is this something we want to jump headfirst in? Do we want to continue doing it as a part-time thing, kind of side hustle on the side? It was making good money. And, after being in Mexico for, 7 days, I don't even think it took that long for us to decide. But, the decision is like, yeah, we're going to go do this. Like, this is your passion. You are so excited. I mean, my wife saw it in me, obviously, that I was so excited about the potential of not only being able to work for myself and grow something that was ours, but just the possibility of being able to step out of something that I was done with. That moment, it was a weight lifted, just knowing that she, of course, had my back, but that we were going to do this. I'm a go-getter. I'm a gung-ho. I'm an all-in type of person, which can be a good and bad thing. You have to really process those emotions and ensure that it is the right thing. That's what I was wanting us to do, and that's what we did. So we essentially set a goal. The business was not generating the same income that I was making from the construction company. But we had been smart. We had saved some money. And we said, hey, we're going to go 6 months. In my mind, I was like, 6 months, maybe 12 or 18, we're just going to go grind this thing out. Because once I make that move, I would never want to go back. Especially after experiencing, working for yourself and having that level of freedom. But again, it had to work. I was the primary income earner. We have 2 kids, a house, those things that have to be paid for and taken care of. So fast forward, came back from vacation, put in my notice. Owner was, obviously not happy, loved having me there. More or less his conversation with me, it was like, I knew that you weren't going to be here forever. And he was excited for me, but bummed out also because he had become a friend. But put in my notice, we had set a 6-month goal that we were extremely fortunate that, 6 to 8 weeks in, we hit that goal. Looking back, I don't think we ever pulled anything out of savings. We just kind of got skinny for a little bit, but we hit our goal very quickly. And we were very fortunate. And so I'm getting to kind of the growth side of it is we grew very organically and very rapidly. And while there were kind of turmoil, I guess you'd call that's the wrong word for it because it really wasn't that bad. But there was uncertainty because there was moves that we had to make and decisions that we had to make very quickly. And when you have to do that very quickly, you don't have as much time to sit and think and process and go, is this the right thing or the wrong thing? And at the end of the day, like, it can affect our clients, which then it ultimately could affect them continue to be clients. So we just had to be smart and make those decisions as accurately as we possibly could. But, going forward is, a lot of agencies are niche based. They only work with dentist or medical or construction or service, HVAC, whatever it may be, law. We did not want to do that. And there's trains of thought there, right? Like there's some that would train us to only go in a specific vertical because we could tailor our entire marketing towards that vertical. If we only did plumbing, everything we put out is like, let's grow your plumbing business, generate more leads for your plumbing business, get on page 1 of Google for your plumbing business. We didn't want to do it that way, mostly because from the day we started, we had a mix. We live in an area that there's, as I mentioned, small and medium-sized businesses, locally owned, that it actually would have been a whole lot harder. Like if we walked in and said, we're only doing dentist, then we'd have to go and market to every dentist in the area. And there's a lot of them, but a lot of them are corporate owned and there's a lot of red tape and a lot of work and things like that. So we just opened it up, and our mantra has been and will always be, if we feel like we can bring value, then we're willing to work with you. We're willing to sit down and have a conversation. And I'm very careful when people ask, like, hey, I'm interested in what you do and I want to talk to you and have a meeting. I'm very careful to let them know, like, we don't really do sales pitches. Like, sure, I'll tell you about what we do and I can send you a slide deck and I can put a proposal in front of you. But then at the end of the day, we want clients to want our services. We want clients to realize that they need us, and that we become an integrated part of their business and essentially like a partner in their business, because their success is our success. And we made that very clear from day one, but we made that decision to stay broad, and forever, as far as I'm concerned, there could be an element of our business or a leg of our business that really focuses on one thing or one niche or one vertical. But we wanted to be able to be helpful. If I can help your business, to us, a Facebook ad is a Facebook ad, a marketing campaign is a marketing campaign. You tailor the message, you tailor the objective, you have to tweak things based on industry, language changes, whether it's professional or fun or funny or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, it's all human psychology. Like, how do I get people interested in what I do? How do I find the people that need me? It's all the same across the board. So we made that decision to stay broad. And it has worked. It has worked out very well for us, for our clients. And that's, we were careful early on. Some of the decisions, we had to make were, number one was CRM. That was a huge one for us. Is like, I needed a place to, more or less for our clients, not so much for us internally, but like the tracking side of it or project management, like we do that a little bit differently, but to have a CRM to where, when a client gets a lead, it goes into that CRM, and then that CRM can then do things, whether it is send an SMS or an email, or it just is essentially a hub where the leads go and it can generate reports. We wanted to provide that, to our clients, but also have that automation piece to it to where we could layer those things in. So we had to decide on a CRM. We went round and round on about 4 or 5 different ones, landed with one. We've been with them ever since. And it was one of those decisions that we had to make kind of quickly. The next one was team. For us to continue to grow and scale, how do we do that? I know that me by myself, I cannot do that alone. For us to go from 3 clients to 15 to 30 to 50, very quickly, it was like, we've got to decide on how we're going to scale this thing. And I had ads, I had classifieds, I had talked to personal connections for about a year, literally. Talked to probably 50 different people. And what I eventually found is either A, for our size, they were too expensive, but we did need them, or they were underqualified. We had people that were submitting saying that, I'm a Facebook ads expert, I'm a SEO expert. And then I would go into it. It wasn't just a regular interview. Like, I have questions. I have kind of a test for you. I want you to tell me, if this happens, what would you do? Like, these are our clients. This is their livelihood. It's their business, their baby that they are trusting us with. And I just found out very quickly that there's a lot of people that think that they are Facebook ads experts or SEO or PPC, and they are in fact not. And they were going to be essentially become, and I have no problem training someone, but they were, for the money that we were willing to pay, I was essentially going to become a babysitter, and have to go back and correct and say, no, not that. Remember, we do it this way. And remember, this is what this means. And like, I don't want that. I want someone that knows what they're doing. We eventually landed on essentially a recruitment firm that they specialized in marketing and advertising folks. And that still took 3 or 4 more months. So we're a year and a half into it now when I needed them, 18 months ago. And we backstrapped it or put it on our back or whatever you want to call it, to make it work, because we still had work to do in that 18-month process. But it wound up working out great. This recruitment firm, we still use them to this day. They have essentially a database of people who submit. They put them through rigorous kind of interviewing process before I would ever even speak to them. And yes, it cost us to be able to go that route. I would love to be able to throw something up on LinkedIn or ZipRecruiter or something like that and have it work. It does save me time, which at the end of the day is sometimes what I need the most, and just have to suck it up and spend the money. But it has worked out very well for us. We have a complete US based team at this point. We do outsource some very minor things, it just depending on what it is. If it is a very difficult 3D animation that is not our specialty, but we are capable of facilitating it, then we will outsource those things. But very, very few and far between, probably a couple of projects a year that we actually outsource. And usually it's something along those lines, like 3D animation that is not our strong suit, but we can help with, if it's very specific. So, fast forward to this past year, looking at continuing to grow and continuing to scale, my wife was on the corporate side in healthcare, and she kind of had reached her point as well. It's a very high stress, very high demanding job. If any of you that work in healthcare, without me saying anything else. But she was ready to get out of there. And my wife is strong in areas that I am not. I'm strong in areas that she is not, which make us a great partnership. Also, we have had the extensive experience of working together, not necessarily in a business, but she had worked from home for a very long period of time. I had worked from home on and off through construction. So we had no issues. Our kids were used to that. If, we're on a call, they know during the summer or whatever, like they can go, they're self-sustained, like they're going to go get themselves lunch. When we're not on a call, they come ask a question, like they were used to and accustomed to that. So it just worked very well. Of course, I was nervous because any decision like that is a big one, to lose her income. She's made good money, and have her join the business. It's all then on the backbone of the business and the success. But the flip side of that is that encouraged me, because that meant that we are both working towards the same common goal. Some people would be terrified by working with their spouse. I was not, just because we have a great relationship. We've been married almost 20 years. And I knew that she had specifically operations, systems and processes, things, how her brain operates that were very different than mine, where I focus on more of the day to day, if that makes sense. She's looking at a bigger picture of like, we need to clean this up. We need to do this better. This makes the customer experience better. Let's create a process for this. Let's get a tracker sheet going for this. That's just not the way my brain operates. I've listened to Alex and Layla Hermosi talk specifically about how her brain works, now his brain works, now how they let each other stay in their own lanes. Ultimately, he has decision-making capabilities on these areas. She has it in these areas, and they look at their team the same way. And I'm learning every single day. We had this conversation the other day. She was like, I need some time to do this. And I'm like, well, hey, you got an hour here, and then we've got a meeting, and then you got an hour after that. She's like, that's not the way my brain works. I need like the 3 hours, like uninterrupted, dedicated to that. Whereas my brain works like I'll find 15-minute pockets and bang things out. That's just not the way hers works. She will still do those things. She will get some stuff done in the 15 minutes, but her brain works of like, I want to be able to focus on this, make it right, make it perfect, get it done. And we would both accomplish the same goal. She just does it differently. And so we're still learning in those areas, but we're translating that to our team as well. It's like not everyone thinks and operates the same way we do. But we had a goal for like the end of the year, end of 2024, that she was going to come over and kind of take over, more or less be our creative director, but also kind of operation side, is like clean some of that up, get ready, because I want to be in front of the scale is really where I want to be. And I think all business owners should be, is like, I want to be ahead of the scale point. When we get there, I don't want us to go, oh my God, what are we going to do? I want us to go, yeah, we've thought about this, and this is what we have in place to facilitate that. So that timeline got moved up, because as I mentioned, she is my wife, and we came up on about June or July of last year. And she was like, I'm ready to do it now. And I was like, that's not what we talked about. And she goes, I don't care. And I said, you're right, as a good husband should do. So we made the plan. She put in her notice. She joined us officially full time, started learning. Like we planned for it. So a couple of months before, started just sitting down with her and like, this is who this client is, and this is what we do for them. This is, a glimpse into the Facebook ad side, the Google stuff. Here's how our team works. Here's how we communicate. Here's how the CRM looks, all those things. So she could start at least playing around, which is the wrong word for it, but, start getting, growing accustomed to how we did things, and let her come in and change those things, right? Because that's what's going to be her wheelhouse. But going into August, and we made some initial changes. There was some services that, we didn't offer, simply really for the sake of time. One of those being just organic content creation and kind of social media management is one of those things that we did it for a couple of folks, but it wasn't something we broadly put out there. But with her coming on, she's extremely creative, and it was going to be a learning process for her as well to learn kind of design software and how it works, and getting logos where they need to go, and clients going, hey, it's Monday and I need to post for this afternoon. It's super urgent. We just want an award or something, or we need to hire. We need something going out very quickly, and us having to meet those kind of demands. And all of our clients understand also that, there's a time and place. We understand emergencies, but we want to facilitate those. A lot of our clients become like family to us. And some people would say, don't do that and blah, blah, blah. We throw that out the window. Like we're very tight knit, business community, and we've gotten to know so many of our clients, and they stay with us so long that they have become like part of our family, and we've become part of theirs. And so we just want to help. We just want to help at the end of the day. And now if something becomes too demanding, where it's like every day there's like this last minute thing, and it's, then of course we'll have that conversation, and they understand that as well. None of them are trying to be overbearing. They're trying to be reasonable, but things come up, where it's like, this has to go out today. We totally forgot. And like, we're like, we got you. No worries. We're at volleyball practice at 7:30 at night, but we're going to get it out for you. That's why we have a vehicle with Wi-Fi in it. That way we can pull out a laptop. We pretty much at any given time, if you see me or my wife, we have our laptop on us, or it's something we can get done from our phones. But that's where we're at current day. That gets us all the way up to now. We're sitting here, what is it, April of 2025, and we're growing. We're continuing to grow. And so for us, I say all that to say, like, our marketing advertising, for our company was very organic and very word of mouth. We had the benefit of, we did not have a whole lot of competition locally. So for us to put our name out there, and our work is visual for the most part, whether it is like actual video that we've shot that people get to see, or it is ads that are popping up in people's timeline, and then someone's going, hey, so-and-so, like, I saw your ad pop up, like, who's doing that? It spread very quickly, through word of mouth and just referrals, and us being connected, and getting to know people, business in the business community and in the regular community as well. I also believe 100% that it has grown the way it has because of our dedication to doing the right things right, and being people of our word, and doing quality work and seeing results. I think there's obviously something to be said. If we were terrible at what we did, it wouldn't matter how awesome of people we were. People wouldn't want to use us. And that's just not true, which is very fortunate. However, going forward, with Laura on now, my wife, we want to continue to grow. We want to continue to scale. And there's one of our clients, and also a fellow business person, that had made a comment to me about fishing in the same pond. And we realize that is a very real thing. There are definitely more clients for us here locally, and the immediate surrounding areas. I agree with him, is that we want to expand our footprint. We want to continue to grow. And to do that, we are going to have to do what we know how to do best, and that is run ads and do SEO and do all those things for ourselves. We used to joke in the construction business that the construction owner's house was the last one to get worked on because he was too busy working on everyone else's. The same is true for us. We were not very heavy on social media. I'd post things from time to time in the community. Sometimes I'd do a video, things like that. But it was because I was busy working on everyone else's stuff. When Laura came on, she wanted to make a point that we at least have regular content going out. So she does that. She'll come to me from time to time and be like, hey, I need you to make a quick reel about this or about this and talk about this. And so I'll do those things. But we want to, and we're making the moves now and putting the plan in place for us to roll out our pay-per-click campaigns, our Facebook ad campaigns. We also have something else that we're working on the back end, and it's the same thing. At the end of the day, it is a funnel for us to be able to build an eventual client list. It's more of a long-term play, and I won't talk too much more about that. You'll get to see that when it comes out, but we're excited about that too, but it's just a lot of work. But we're getting ready to do those things, and we know that we'll have success doing them. What was most important to us with rolling those out is the systems and processes that they were set up. If we go from regular referral business, which it might mean 2 or 3 meetings a week, or 1 or 2 meetings a week, or sometimes, it's a couple meetings a month. If we go from that to I'm fielding, 3 phone calls a day of people who are interested in what we do and needing marketing and advertising services for their business, I have to have a system in place for that. I have to be able to facilitate those phone calls. I have to have time for those meetings. I have to be able to get the proposals back to them. Then we have to be able to onboard them and begin executing. So I wanted to make sure those things were in place first. And it was not it wasn't a delay. I know that we can get caught in that as business. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're thinking about it. You think about it all day long until it doesn't happen. And then you're a year down the road and you're like, yeah, we were going to do it last year, but that's not ultimately where we were. We did spend probably a little too long thinking about it or kind of looking at it, because it's marketing and advertising. Like, we've got to go do our thing. And that means I've got to generate content, do all these things. Like, it's not a burden. That's the wrong word for it, but it's work. And it has to be worked in with the rest of the work. So it's putting everything in priority in its place, but then ensuring that the back end system was ready for that. And we're pretty confident with where we are now. We've built out forms, we've built out onboarding, we've built out instructions, like everything that we would need to, as much as we can, automate the process, specifically the onboard and proposal process. We've done that now. But the upfront process is still very manual. I'm still going to meet with them. I'm still going to talk with them, whether it's over Zoom or it's in person. I still want to make sure that they understand what we do. We understand what they do. And we both are on the same wavelength in terms of objectives and realistic outcomes. So that process more than likely will always be manual for us. The only thing that would be quote unquote automated for me personally would be something along the lines of, like, we build out a sales team and train them to where they can go conduct some of these meetings just as well as I would, and be just as knowledgeable and not be a typical salesperson that's over promising and then we under deliver. Like, I want our clients to feel as though they were speaking to me, to have the same confidence and feel like they are being heard and understood and that we are both on the same page, because that's where our winning relationships that we have had from day one till now, that's how they've started. It's because it's just transparency. Here's what we do. Here's what you're wanting us to do. Here's what the reality is. And here's what we can project. Does this work for you? Great. Let's get it done. And then 3-5 years later, they're still a client. So that's our context. That's who we are. At the end of the day, Speak Loud Group, see it behind me on the screen. We are a full service marketing and advertising agency. If there is a place that something can run digitally, we handle that. From content creation, which can be anything from videography, photography, drone work, graphics, animations. We go on to the promotion side. We then can take that content and promote it, whether that be through Facebook ads, YouTube, Google PPC, landing pages, lead forms, automation of leads, lead qualification, communication, that's emails, text messages, on into like just the SEO organic side, offering social media management, ensuring that your posts are going out, that you do have regular content going out, and SEO, making sure that your website is ranking and continues to rank. Some people think SEO is a one-time process when you build your website. It is not. It is an ongoing process to ensure that you are not only ranking, but continue to rank and that you don't fall in those rankings. But that is what we do every single day. And it's not a pat on the back, but it is the reality. We do it well. And so I'm excited to kick the podcast back off. Realistically, we're hoping to put out an episode a month. What I would love to do is to do a couple of these a month. One of them where it's maybe more like this, where we are talking marketing and advertising. We might be using some examples and putting that out there, whether they're a client or not, just putting some awesome examples of marketing and maybe some bad ones. Like, I have no problem looking at doing like a hot seat of like, is this a good marketing campaign or a bad one? Sometimes it's good to look at, compare and contrast. But then I also want to do episodes where we are talking to business owners. Is that I want to talk to you about your business. I want to talk to you about how you got started, but specifically I also want to talk about kind of how are you marketing and advertising? How are you growing and scaling your business every single day? And what does that look like? Because I think at the end of the day, I want this podcast to be not only edifying to us, but beneficial to anyone watching and or listening. And so that's who we are. And that's what this podcast will be. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business owner, if you are a wantrepreneur, you're in the thinking and planning and executing stages, or you're a large business, but you are stagnant or you are declining, I would encourage you, check this podcast out. We host it on YouTube in the video version. It will be on every audio platform that is possible, Spotify, iHeartRadio podcast, anywhere, essentially Apple Podcast, anywhere else that we could possibly put it, it will be there. So I would encourage you to tune in. You may see this micro clip on TikTok or Instagram Reels or something along those lines, but I would encourage you, follow along, subscribe to the page. It's not just for numbers for us. It is that we ultimately hope that we can be beneficial and that we can be helpful and that we can learn things from each other. You can learn some things from us and that you can go take some of those things, those nuggets, and put them in your business and ultimately grow your business and grow your revenue. We don't need to thank you. We don't need the pat on the back. We'd love to have you subscribe or following along, if anything. And ultimately, if you're looking to grow and scale your business, or your marketing advertising is stale or stagnant or non-existent, we'd love to have a conversation with you at the end of the day. Every client may not be a fit, but we are very confident in what we do, and we believe that every business could benefit from a positive and professional marketing advertising campaign. So I appreciate you watching. Thanks for tuning in. And all of the OGs that are here from the Growth Grit Grind side, welcome back. We're excited to be here. I think you'll enjoy this just as much. And we'll see you guys on the next one.